I received the shocking revelation at my workplace. My daughter, left in the car, had passed away. The news came abruptly from a police officer, leaving me in a state of distress. Frantically, I hurried to contact my mother, who was supposed to be watching over my child. Thankfully, she assured me that everything was fine. My daughter was currently enjoying a snack. Relief washed over me momentarily, but it was short-lived. The penetrating gaze of the police officer raised suspicions, making me realize a hidden truth. I am Kinaya Mullen, 38 years old, residing with my husband and child. My husband, 4 years my senior, works as a sales manager at a house manufacturing company. His demanding job often keeps him occupied on both weekdays and holidays, making him less involved in childcare and household duties. Requesting his help in picking up our child on his days off often resulted in frustration. Recalling a past incident when I worked at a drugstore on a Sunday, I asked him, who was on a day off, to care for our child. His response was dismissive, stating that he needed to relax on his day off, unlike me, a mere part-timer. Despite my concerns about his nonchalant attitude and whether he was properly caring for our child, Lucien, who is adept at playing independently, didn't require much attention. However, that day at work was difficult as I couldn't shake off the worry about my husband's caregiving capabilities. Subsequently, I entrusted my child to my nearby living mother. Fearing confrontation and reluctant to make situations awkward, I struggled to voice my concerns. He's exhausted. I need to understand that. I reasoned with myself, grappling with the challenges of parenting and managing household responsibilities on a part-time basis. Then, a pivotal incident unfolded on a particularly cold day. At the crack of dawn, the store manager called me urgently. Could you fill in for a colleague who isn't feeling well? Staff members often covered for each other's shifts. I'll be a bit late. I have to drop off my son at my mom's, but it's fine, I assured and ended the call. Upon contacting my mother, she readily agreed, prompting me to hastily prepare. Unexpectedly, my usually reserved husband, Jeffrey, offered unusually supportive words. Should I take him to your mother-in-law's? I was taken aback by his uncharacteristic concern. Really? Are you sure? What about your job? His unexpected support astonished me, and he assured, it's all right. I'll make it on time. Observing him happily picking up our son, I expressed my gratitude. Thanks, but he needs a car seat. Why don't I use your car today? I'll even drop you off at the train station. You're not comfortable driving my car, right? His large car intimidated me, but he reassured, it's genuinely helpful. Following a safe day at work, I received sincere thanks from the store manager, and even regular customers expressed their gratitude. The warmth of appreciation made me happy. However, just before concluding my shift around 4:00 p.m., an unexpected intercom announcement summoned me to the backyard. 2 men awaited, and the store manager discreetly informed me, it's the police, introducing me with a puzzled expression. This is Cam Mullen, police. Yes, I am Mullen. Despite my confusion, I struggled to piece together the situation, but nothing seemed to justify a policeman in casual attire approaching me. The officer scrutinized me from head to toe, urging me to remain calm as he delivered the devastating news. Please calm down and listen. Your daughter has passed away. Daughter? Whose daughter? My confusion deepened as they proceeded to explain the grim circumstances. A 1-year-old girl had tragically succumbed to the cold in my car, parked behind the station. The police, treating me as a suspect, detailed how the adjacent car's driver had discovered the distressing scene, prompting an ambulance call that proved too late. Only then did I realize I was under suspicion for creating the tragic situation. Wait a second. I don't understand what you're saying. I have a son, and my mother is with him today. Yes, I'll cooperate at the police station. Despite my protests and attempts to clarify, the police officer lightly patted me down, refusing to let me speak further. It became apparent that they assumed I had left my child unattended in the car while I was at work. Treated like a criminal, It was only after being placed in a police car that I was granted permission to contact my mother. This is absurd. I'm with him, of course. My mother, unaware of the situation, seemed shocked by my call. Despite the relief flooding over me upon hearing the voices of my mother and son, knowing my child was safe, the stark reality of the girl's tragic death in my car lingered. Upon reaching the police station, a detective with an intense gaze relentlessly questioned me, describing how my husband had taken our child to my mother's place that morning seemed to temporarily dispel suspicions. However, my attempts to contact my husband during the police inquiry remained unanswered. They asked, "Can you confirm if you know the missing girl?" This moment proved more challenging than the initial suspicion. Gazing at the girl, appearing peacefully asleep, I cried, overwhelmed with guilt. Unfortunately, I only had a vague impression of having seen her somewhere. Honestly admitting this to the police, they urged, "If you recall anything, contact me," finally releasing me as darkness enveloped the outside. Anxious to reunite with my son, I rushed to my mother's house. In the midst of explaining the situation to my mother, tears flowed, providing comfort as my child slept peacefully. Returning home after 9 p.m., my son fell asleep once more. I attempted numerous calls to my husband, who remained unresponsive. A midnight message arrived, revealing an unexpected business trip. Despite my immediate call, there was no answer, so I messaged back, informing him of the unsettling events. However, subsequent attempts to reach him were met with silence. The following day, I faced the morning after a sleepless night, haunted by a lingering concern. Beyond the distress involving my husband, the image of that girl persisted, as if I had encountered her before. Resolving to seek answers, I waited for my husband's work hours to commence, gathering the courage to make the call. My intention was to have his workplace contact him during his business trip. Surprisingly, I learned that my husband had taken a vacation since the previous day. Grateful yet perplexed, I found myself temporarily unable to process anything after the phone call. Amidst the shock, the idea of confiding in my best friend Chrissy dawned on me. Ready to make the call, I was met with astonishment upon opening my phone. In haste, I reviewed the messages from Chrissy lie. It's a lie. One of the images there shook me to the core, as the girl in the picture with Chrissy was the same girl left in my car. Oh my God, it was Chrissy's daughter who passed away. Suddenly, the fragments of yesterday's inexplicable events started connecting. The question echoed. Why was Chrissy's child abandoned in my car? Convinced that this wasn't a delusion, I began to suspect my husband and best friend of having an affair. 2 years ago, Chrissy, single after a divorce, had cryptically shared about her pregnancy, refusing to disclose the father. "I won't tell you who the dad is. I'm just a single mother," she had laughed meaningfully. The possibility that the girl might be my husband's child loomed, though uncertain. Fueled by unbearable anger at being deceived for so many years, I felt a determination to unveil the truth in honor of the departed girl. My lack of assertiveness had allowed me to navigate my marriage without confronting my husband. However, upon discovering the betrayal, a newfound determination stirred within me. Realizing that 2 foolish adults had tormented an innocent child, I promptly took action to address the issue. After dropping my daughter off at the nursery, I headed straight to Chrissy's house. Upon arriving at her apartment and ringing the doorbell, Chrissy, still half asleep, answered. "It's been a while. Did I wake you up? Huh, Kanaya? What's going on?" Chrissy, lacking makeup, attempted to shut the door, but I anticipated it and placed my bag between the doors. "There's Jeffrey too, right? Let's talk, the 3 of us." Despite Chrissy's panic, I found myself chuckling, perhaps due to the absurdity of the situation. Chrissy seemed unnerved by my strange laughter. "All right, you should have told me you're coming," she grumbled but gestured for me to come in. Navigating to the back room, I heard my husband's voice calling out in surprise. "What, Kenya?" He was still in bed. However, his surprise was short-lived, and by the time he joined us in the living room, he seemed prepared to face me. "Well, you've already found out," he nonchalantly remarked as soon as he saw my expression. Chrissy, who had been visibly upset moments ago, was now grinning behind my husband. "Can you not make fun of me? I have something I want to ask." "Oh, I'm scared." Despite the urge to scold Chrissy for her unserious demeanor, I suppressed it. "I assume you've already been informed about her daughter. If you know that, why are you two here? Why haven't you gone to pick her up?" It seemed they anticipated that I would be contacted regarding Chrissy's daughter. I couldn't fathom their actions, wondering just how much they knew about the situation. "Give me a break. The police are taking care of that kid right now." She didn't even realize her child was missing and was shockingly optimistic, I learned, feeling disheartened by her ignorance. Simultaneously, I decided to unveil the truth after listening to their version of events. "How did this happen?" We were surprised too. There were a lot of people around when we returned to the parking lot. "Oh yes, some people are just so dramatic," they casually remarked, delving into the details of the previous day. My husband, on vacation, had initially planned to spend time with Chrissy. However, Chrissy's child complicated matters when they tried to enter the hotel in front of the station. That's why he parked my car in a lot and went to the hotel with her child still inside. As I learned of this impulsive decision, my jaw couldn't help but drop. When I exited the hotel and returned to the parking lot, the police were surrounding my car. He even saw the ambulance and thought it was a bad situation, so he ran away. In a typical scenario, one would be concerned about the child's safety, but they interpreted the situation in their favor. I'm dismayed to hear that she's relieved to be free from taking care of her child, under the protection of the police. "How long has your relationship been going on?" I confronted them directly, urging them to share their side of the story. "You're insensitive, Kaya. Right after I got divorced, it's been 4 years. I gave her some advice during her divorce, and things happened. It's a common pattern, I guess. Back then, I had suspected my husband of having an affair. Pregnant and anxious, I chalked it up to overthinking. I was astounded that my best friend was involved. So you're the father of Chrissy's child. Unlike my son, my daughter is cute." My husband candidly admitted, almost as if he aimed to provoke me. He confessed to the spontaneous idea of using my car, considering that Chrissy lacked one, and using my car with a child car seat would make outings with all 3 of them more convenient. "Then you should have divorced me and married Chrissy," I retorted, feeling like our time together had been wasted. Placing the blame squarely on my husband, yet again, he made an absurd claim. "If you do that, my company will find out about the affair and the child. It will hinder my promotion." The idea of sacrificing our relationship for such reasons filled me with disgust towards my husband. "Kenya, that's not all." Chrissy, standing beside him, condescendingly laughed. "Jeffrey told me his wife is a submissive housekeeper who doesn't talk back, allowing him to do whatever he wants." I questioned. "Okay, but were you okay with that? You have kids too." I pondered while Chrissy burst into laughter. "Ha, I'm sick of marriage. I just want financial support for my living expenses." "Oh yes, unlike Kaya, Chrissy costs me a lot. She's high maintenance. Ha ha ha." My husband and Chrissy, speaking openly, seemingly treated me as if I were invisible. Faced with their selfishness, my patience neared its limit. "Anyway, what's our plan now? You can't escape this." I subtly directed the conversation. "Is it that much of a trouble, Chrissy? Go pick her up." "Then we got caught, so I have to pick her up. But the police will be mad at me." "Yeah, she's not old enough to come home alone." So far, they don't seem to care about her child even once, and when they speak, it's all about their own worries. Enough is enough. There's no room for sympathy. Finally, I decided to reveal the truth. "Honestly, I'm dumbfounded. Both of you only think about yourselves." "Oh, what do you want to say?" My husband glared at me, but I remained unfazed. "I'll tell you the truth. Your daughter passed away yesterday. She was left in the car in the middle of winter," I revealed, watching as their eyes widened, and they screamed. "Poor thing. I can't imagine how cold it was." "Oh, you're lying. Your shallow actions have cost the life of a young child." Chrissy pointed at me, shouting angrily. It's all your fault, Kaya. Chrissy, you can't be mad at me. Why don't you reflect on yourself a little? I retorted. Shut up. It's your fault that you married Jeffrey. I don't understand what Chrissy is saying. When she introduced him to me, I wondered if Chrissy was delirious because of the shock of losing her child. When I'm having a hard time with my divorce issues, you can't get married to show it off to me. It's not supposed to happen. It's your fault. What are you talking about? You got divorced because of your own infidelity. It's your fault. No, it wasn't supposed to be like this. Chrissy, who started crying, continued to blame herself, saying, I should have been happier. On the other hand, my husband attempted to make excuses in front of her, sobbing. Oh, it's none of my business. I was just going to have an affair from the beginning. It's too late. Chrissy's child doesn't really know I'm the father, does she, Kenya? We're not divorced yet, are we? Saying that, he approached me. I brushed his hand away and uttered in the lowest voice possible, Coward, don't show up in front of me again. Ignoring their ugly argument, I slipped away to the police. 2 days later, a call from the police informed them that the surveillance camera footage from the parking lot was the deciding factor, leading to their arrest. Both of them would now face justice properly. Their actions had set them on a long and arduous road filled with thorns. Meanwhile, I started to live a peaceful life with my mother and son. At the suggestion of the drugstore manager, I ended up working as a full-time employee. The unexpected restart of my life filled me with excitement.